This week on Sci-Fi Buzz, the movie's most successful team, Jekyll and Hyde. Author of The Exorcist, William Peter Blatty, returns to the world of the occult for some laughs. And Kate Mulgrew survives the perils of being the first female starship captain in the Star Trek universe.
I am lightning. Maybe we better try the fifth planet instead. Come back here when things have cleared up.
Prepare. Stand by. The Buzz.
Movies. Personalities.
Sci-Fi. FX.
Behind the scenes.
Cutting edge. Get ready. Sci-Fi.
Buzz. Patrick Stewart would love this place. Hi, Buzzers. Mike Jarek here in the heart of Hollywood on Hollywood Boulevard at the Hollywood Entertainment Museum. Now, I've slapped down my $7.50 for the right to sit on the bridge of the USS Enterprise. I think it's going to be worth it. Well, I go to the bridge. You head over to Buzz News.
The ability to destroy a planet is insignificant next to the power of the Force.
It seems the Force is stronger than ever these days as Star Wars conquers America again. What was expected to be a modest re-release of a sci-fi classic has become an unprecedented media phenomenon.
You're coming in too fast!
Star Wars has grossed an astonishing $100 million in the first 18 days of its re-release, once again making it the top domestic grossing film of all time, surpassing even E.T.'s long-held record.
I call it luck. In my experience, there's no such thing as luck.
And with the 20-year-old Star Wars raking in so much money so quickly, movie executives are salivating over the prospects for other re-releases. Columbia Pictures, which was already planning a limited re-release of Close Encounters this September, now plans to increase the number of theaters and up their advertising budget to cash in on re-release fever. The studio wants to incorporate the best of the two theatrical versions of the film and the special television release. But they are wisely awaiting the input of director Steven Spielberg before making any changes. And since so many special editions of Close Encounters have already come and gone, Columbia is considering calling this edition the Ultimate Edition. Who knows what they'll call it if they ever want to release it again. And that's the latest buzz. Check this out. This is so cool. This is the actual bridge from the set of Star Trek Next Generation. See this chair? Oh yeah, this is where Captain Jean-Luc Picard sat for 7 seasons. I feel the power. This is what I want to do. I want to try to dock with Voyager and their sexy captain, Kate Mulgrew. Engage.
Action!
Harry, can you get a lock on him?
Not yet! Everything's too unstable!
Tom, how much longer before you clear the eddy?
Whenever a Star Trek series premieres, the show and its stars are intensely examined by fans and critics alike. But from the style of her hair to the emotional range of her character, no performance has been probed as thoroughly as Mulgrew's.
Has it been tough to handle some of the criticism since you've been playing Captain Janeway?
It's hard. One always hears, and of course, I was trained in the theater, and I was brought up in the theater, and it has stood me in very good stead, because there's no criticism as harsh as that criticism, because you're fully exposed on the stage, right? And they can kill you in the press in New York. And if you could survive that, you can survive just about anything. But I am not like some of the tougher people I know in this business. I take it to heart.
This real-life vulnerability is rarely displayed on screen. Mulgrew's character is a decisive leader who is completely in control of any and all situations. But this season, Janeway has shown subtle, very subtle signs of softening.
You know, Chakotay, it occurs to me. We aren't exactly in a command structure anymore. Maybe you should call me Kathryn.
You know what I'd like? I'd like more romance for your character.
She can't really afford to absent herself from this crew of 165 to have a passionate love affair. But I think she can have something far better, which is a deep relationship.
Oh, that feels good.
I've encouraged this between Chakotay and Janeway. A relationship with all of the dynamics that are unspoken and all the secrets that are infinitely more tantalizing, I think, than the obvious. What's the status of those ships, Mr. Tuvok?
Still unpowered. They don't seem to have detected us.
When I was in high school, I snuck out of the house a couple of times late at night. Had to tiptoe past my parents' bedroom. It's kind of how I feel right now.
Have things come a long way since that first season?
I was nervous the first season about the work.
What made you so nervous that first year? Well, okay.
Hello, hello. Can you imagine?
No.
It was a trapeze act. And I felt very scrutinized.
Petri dishes, protein analyzer, DNA sequencers, everything I need for my research is here.
So the first season, I was just trying to get that lingo down on the bridge, which is an amazing accomplishment to begin with, right? And then trying to understand this phenomenon and all the ramifications and repercussions of it. And then trying to get some sleep. Those were 16-hour days that first season, and all the press that was attending. All things that are wonderful are hard. This was a very challenging role to take on. And I knew it was going to be tough. But now it's just fun.
100 years of Jekyll and Hyde in Hollywood. Stand by.
My name is Scott Rosema. I'd like to recommend that the newest Space Ghost comic book that has arrived from Archie Comics is probably one of the most exciting things to come out in superhero comics in a long time, since he's such a great cartoon character. He's only seen print a few times in the last 30 years, and Archie Comics has done a great job in producing the comic book and being faithful to the material. And I think it's a great addition to anybody's collection, and especially to Space Ghost fans.
I've decided to take on an assistant. His name is Mr. Edward Hyde, and I intend to give him the run of the house.
Mary Riley is Hollywood's latest retelling of the Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde story. This time, the tale unfolds from the perspective of the Doctor's maid. Jekyll and Hyde has been adapted to the screen more times than any other story. Of the dozens of versions, 4 productions rate as must-sees for the serious horror fan. The first movie, based on the Robert Louis Stevenson novel, may have been filmed as early as 1897. But the oldest screen version, which is not yet turned to dust, is this one, released in 1911. One of the most popular of the early Jekyll and Hyde silents, it starred James Cruise. But if one were to pick a classic silent version of Dr. J and Mr. H, it would have to be the 1920 film starring John Barrymore. Barrymore took pride in the fact that his transformation scenes relied as much on his facial contortions as they did on makeup and photographic effects. He portrayed his Mr. Hyde as a human spider with insect-like features and movements. In one scene, Jekyll sleeps as a giant ghostly spider crawls in bed with him and dissolves into his body. The creature was actually Barrymore himself, wearing a spider costume. Film buffs usually cite the 1932 Jekyll and Hyde as the best movie adaptation of the story. The film is the first sound version. For his performance in the lead roles, Frederick March copped a Best Actor Academy Award.
You wanted him to love you, didn't you? I'll give you a lover now. His name is Death.
Director Ruben Mamoulian based this Mr. Hyde on a Neanderthal man. Although nowadays the makeup seems over the top, the transformation scenes still hold up. Some were accomplished by putting red grease paint on Frederick March and a series of red filters over the lights. As the red filters are gradually removed, the makeup gradually appears. In 1941, MGM released It's Jekyll and Hyde, starring Spencer Tracy. The film is a carbon copy of the 1932 picture. However, this time the emphasis is not on the grotesque appearance of Hyde, but on the Freudian aspects of the story.
Oh, no. Don't go now, Marcia. After all, this could be very interesting, the three of us in friendly discussion.
Although the picture lacks the raw energy of the Frederick March film, it has a polished style lacking in the earlier production. Plus, Tracy's more subtle-looking Mr. Hyde is more faithful to the character in the book. Like the movies, television has visited the Doctor and his brutish alter ego many times. Most notably in the 1967 production, The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. Actor Jack Palance and makeup artist Dick Smith combined talents to create one of the nastiest Mr. Hydes of all time. Smith gave this Hyde a devilish appearance. The message of all these productions seems to be that there's a little Hyde lurking in everyone. Maybe that's why this creepy story continues to fascinate us.
Continuing our tour of the Hollywood Entertainment Museum, this hallway right here is from the original Star Trek series. Pretty cool, huh? And you talk about cool, check out the wonderful creature mask from Michael Westmore. This museum is actually filled with all sorts of memorabilia from Star Trek, both the movies and the television shows, including these two giant Klingons. Kind of frightening, huh?
Coming up, buzzing with Blatty of The Exorcist fame. Don't touch that zapper.
From Ambridge, PA, and I just finished Mosaic by Jerry Taylor. Tells the story of Captain Janeway, her childhood, through her time at Starfleet Academy, and taking her first command. It's an excellent book, rich with history, and since it was written by the creator, co-creator of Voyager itself, it's a great, great read. I recommend it to anyone.
Makeup. Oh yes, we're at the Max Factor makeup exhibit here at the Hollywood Entertainment Museum. Of course, we all know the importance of makeup in Hollywood. Now, when I think of makeup, I think of that movie, The Exorcist. Remember that makeover they did on Linda Blair? Not to mention all the green that came out of her. Also, when I think of The Exorcist, you got to think of the great book by William Peter Blatty. And when I think of William Peter Blatty, I think, what's he up to now? When I see the Buzz staff is way ahead of me, they say, just roll the tape.
In 1973, the film version of William Peter Blatty's The Exorcist electrified movie audiences with its shocking tale of demonic possession. Today, Blatty is once again telling tales of devilish doings in his new book, Demons 5, Exorcist Nothing. But surprise, this latest fable from the best-selling author is played strictly for laughs.
Prior to The Exorcist, I was a fairly well-established writer of comic novels and comic motion pictures. Demons 5, Exorcist Nothing is simply a return to what I believe I do most naturally, and is probably the only form of writing that I really like.
The comedic plot of Demons 5, Exorcist Nothing, involves the making of an occult motion picture, something Blatty experienced firsthand as the producer of The Exorcist. So is this new story a veiled autobiographical account of his involvement in making that classic supernatural film?
Ah, well, you will find some very familiar figures in Demons 5, Exorcist Nothing. You'll find a familiar motion picture. You'll find things you recognize.
Blatty's unnerving tale, The Exorcist, originated in 1949 when he read a newspaper account of a boy allegedly possessed by the devil. Years later, when he was considering writing a novel on the subject, he contacted the priest involved in the real-life case.
The last sentence in his letter to me, his first letter, we corresponded over the years, really electrified me and got me going. He said, I can tell you this. The case that I was involved in was the real thing. I had no doubt about it then. I have no doubt about it now. And that gave me the belief that allowed me, I hope, to make the novel believable.
Several years later, Blatty turned the novel into an Oscar-winning screenplay and helped create a film that had a strong emotional impact on audiences nationwide.
I talked to my old Jesuit friends at Loyola. I worked there once in public relations. I said, what's going on? They go, I don't know, but we're getting a heavy, heavy rush on the confessional box. Kids who haven't made confession in 5, 6 years, they're in there. They're in there.
While Blatty was not involved in the first Exorcist sequel, he did write and direct 1990's Exorcist III, Legion. Since then, the best-selling author has steered clear of horror.
After The Exorcist, my publisher said, you know, why don't you do another like that? I said, no, I don't want to write this kind of book anymore. I said, I don't want to do that. Of course, I'd be Stephen King today if I had.
Just down the time stream, hanging with history at the Hollywood Entertainment Museum. Stay glued.
This is David Larson from Austin, Texas, and I just wanted to say that I just picked up a copy of Privateer 2: The Darkening, and this game rocks. I really like the ships because there are so many to choose from, and they look really cool. I like the idea of just flying around in space anywhere I want to and doing anything I want to. You can make as much money as you want, which is cool because there are a bunch of weapons and ships to choose from. And the spaceflight's probably the best I've ever seen in a computer game, and I played a bunch of Origin games. It's also got some really cool actors in it, like John Hurt and Christopher Walken. And all I can say really is that Privateer 2 is awesome, and I can't stop playing it.
We are back at the Hollywood Entertainment Museum. Got to get out of here, but before we do, I wanted you all to meet the president of the museum, a person who's done a very nice job here, Phyllis Caskey. Congratulations on the job you've done. Now, I think a lot of people might be surprised that this is one of the first official Hollywood museums. I mean, other people have tried it like in their homes and things, but this is the first official building.
It is. People have talked about doing a Hollywood museum for over 50 years, and we did it.
And why do you think this is going to work?
Well, it's what people from all over the world come to Hollywood looking for.
Mm-hmm.
They want to touch Hollywood. They want to get behind the scenes. They want to see the real things, and we celebrate that story.
One of my favorites is the miniature of Hollywood.
Yes,
that took,
mine too.
About 8 years to make?
It did, and a Hollywood cabinet maker had a slow time in the late 1930s. And he created Hollywood, and it's just wonderful because people can come to the museum, look at the miniature, and walk outside and find the buildings.
You know, Hollywood can walk all over you, but now you can walk all over Hollywood.
Hey, I've always wanted to do that.
Well, get over there, Phyllis. Again, congratulations. Thanks for having us in.
My
and
pleasure.
Thank you for being with us on Sci-Fi Buzz. See you next time.
Watch the mysteries of the universe unfold as the Sci-Fi Channel takes you on an amazing journey through the cosmos, inside space. Coming up next.